and we are Art Viewing Adventures here with you to talk about Mexican and Mexican American art. And a kind of fitting time since we have a nominee for governor who is of Mexican descent. And of course, where we all live here in California, those of you who are in California know that this used to be part of Mexico. So it kind of makes sense that we would want to know more about the art of this culture. I'm going to start by talking about an experience Sarah and I had within the last. This is actually the reason we had to cancel some of the programs. We were traveling. We took the train all the way to Chicago, which was a fabulous experience. I highly recommend doing that. We took the California Zephyr. Took 50 more than 52 hours, but it was fun. And then we you actually on the train go right by the neighborhood in in Chicago that has this National Museum of Mexican Art. It's called Pilsen, and it is a Mexican neighborhood with all kinds of really great food and murals and such. But here's some things that we saw in the museum that we wanted to share with you. This is a I'm not sure what to call it. It's a giant work of art made up of beads, specifically 1,523,520 beads by the artist Santos de la Torre. And here's a picture of him. He is indigenous and he is from Jalisco, grew up in great poverty, but made lots of fabulous art. And his art is a lot about um, preserving culture and kind of the spirit animals of the culture, and also conservation and concern about the environment. And this is 95 by 118 inches, so really, really big. And it's read from right to left. So up here in the upper corner is kind of the beginning of it, and it's showing like something happening in the course of a day. So that's like the sun here coming up, and it's got these animals that have spiritual significance in his culture. And then you'll see like this is like the midday sun here, and if you keep going over, we'll see the moon, and it is just kind of a captivating image. And I know Nikki and I were talking about it right before the show started. Nikki, what do you have any reaction to seeing this artwork?
Well, it's very intense for me, and it's just beautiful. And so many things happen in our day that we overlook, and this kind of captures that our days are so full and so busy that we overlook some of the beauty. And here it is for us to see a full day from sunrise, which is al amanecer, to sunset, amanecer. So I see the little owl in there, the little tecolote, and you got to look real close and
Oh,
enjoy each
which
piece.
where's the owl? Oh, like maybe here, like
In the evening part,
the
yeah, in the
evening.
middle and the evening part, there's a little owl in there. I saw.
Trying to zoom in.
Yeah, I saw
Oh yeah,
him.
there's the owl. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
there he is. Wow, he's real little. Yeah.
so many of these animals have significance. There's some pretty good information on the web about it, and there's all kinds of sacred interconnections. So there's severe geometric design, and the colors are of great significance. So I spent a lot of time. I walked into this museum and just kind of really enjoyed this. The museum, by the way, is free, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And
So there's
it's
a.
a, and it's
I'm sorry. Oh
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say there's a comment from Tomasita in the chat.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, let's read that. We have some information to share
Hello,
about this
may
week.
I share some information about this art?
Yeah,
Yes.
please go ahead. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, this is Waka Shira art is they Huichol, commonly known as Huichol, but they prefer to be called the name that something with a dart with a W that I don't say exactly. But this art started because the Huichol indigenous people are people who use peyote in a ceremonial way. And these started out, they would have visions and then they would make offerings. They live in a pine forest. I've been there to ceremonies. And anyways, this is a pine forest that has a lot of, it's very steep. And that's why their huarachis are the best because they're the strongest to traverse that terrain. Um, so this started out as offerings that they would put beeswax on wood, like on a slab of natural wood, and then they would press beads. They use it with needles. They press the beads into the wax to create the piece. And these just started out as their visions. You know, they would uh, put down on the wax what they had part of what their vision was as an offering to the ancestors. And so that's how this started. But then uh, it got commercialized because people started wanting to buy these offerings that they would leave on the path, you know, in their area as an offering to the spirits. And then outsiders started saying, "Hey, I'd like to buy this," and so that's how it became. I mean, I'm sure it's still and the people still use them as make offerings, but these are now the art form that developed from it. And but these are beads that have been pressed into wax. That's how they create these beautiful pieces.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
it's extraordinary, and thanks for that, Thomasita. And Thomasita, do you know the significance of, like, we see a lot of these? They almost look like deer. These animals. Do you have
Yes,
any
those
idea?
are okay, those are spirit guides. These are let's see, you can see like on the one on the left, there's the eagle is a spirit guide and the deer is a spirit guide. And okay, to become okay, I've been down there. So down there, the women don't sit and you know, the only people who sit up from the ground are men, and the women have wear skirts that are very uh, thick, you know, take a lot of material, so they that's like their cushion, and they sit on the ground, and uh,
I
I've been
see a
there.
lot of,
Okay, so what? So and they're the indigenous people that do all the embroidery on their the men with their pants and their tops, and then they're the ones that have, you know, the embroidery on their attire. And so to become a medicine person, you have to go 7 years without eating salt
Oh,
or having an ejaculation. And so after 7 years, you can become a medicine person. So at a ceremony where we were, the okay, so the I was invited to be the godmother of a baby there, and so we went to the family compound, which was called Los Duraznos, because it was they had a apricot tree, and so they were famous for having an apricot tree. And so um, there's just so much to tell.
yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to explain. This is the way this is created is by pressing a pressing the beads into the wax, and these are visions that people have had. Oh, there you go. See, so now
Yeah, and
he's
there's
already
the
embroidered.
artist is Santos de la Torre. My understanding is he's very celebrated, and he did a metro station in Paris. Although I think there was some controversy with that because they altered some of it, and he was very unhappy about that.
What happened? What was he unhappy about?
That they altered some of his artwork when
Oh
they
no.
installed it in the metro in Paris.
Okay, so behind him to his right upper, you see those those are peyote. Uh, that's the peyote plant right there. The
Up
peyote
here,
mushroom.
am I in the right?
Yes. Okay, those are peyotes.
Wow. Well, again, Thomasita, thanks for that. One of the things in this show, I'm just going to readily say I'm an outsider who encountered all this and just loved it. Just and it makes you want to learn a lot more about the culture that it comes from.
Okay, and then the snakes, those represent temptation.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I,
above the two above the
yeah,
peyote.
and I can get a better view. Like like there's a snake here, right? No, I guess those are
No, that's a
scorpions,
path.
and then here's a snake here.
Okay, that's temptation.
Yeah,
And then the other symbols are power. Those are your power.
which ones? The round ones?
Like the uh, the little animals. The animals are like
Yeah.
power, but
Okay.
the and
Like the
then
kangaroos all the
the
way to the
snake is
left.
temptation.
To the left. Oh, hold on, sorry. Having a little trouble here. Let's see. Oh, got to go back. Okay, to the left. Nope.
Oh, see the peyote, and then wherever you see the peyote, and then
Uh-huh.
the idea is that you get stronger. Like if you're working towards becoming a medicine person, then the snake shows the temptation. But then if you don't fall for temptation, you have power, and the power are the powers of the different animals that are represented here. The deer.
Like the turtle that's down and
Yes.
left,
Hmm. Those are
that
all
yellow
power.
turtle.
Oh yeah, the yellow turtle. I love that. So yeah, so I mean, what I'm hoping to inspire some of you to do is go. If you're in Chicago, you got to go to this museum, and this will be one of the first things you see when you walk in, and it's just kind of endlessly fascinating. So we do have a whole bunch of other things we're going to cover today. I just want to show some other things that we saw in the museum. This is called the Mona Lupe by the artist Cesar Augusto Martinez, and it's kind of combining the Mona Lisa from Western culture with the um, um, the Virgin of Guadalupe in kind of Mexican Christianity. And this is, I think this is an image that gets seen in a lot of different places, but the original done by Martinez is at the museum. This is something more contemporary that I found really powerful. It's called Broken Promises, and it's showing the Statue of Liberty with the skeleton of her arm, and then all these people within the statue, and then the word freedom kind of broken, and helps us think about what is going on today with the way we're persecuting immigrants. So some and we'll see this when we get into the poster art. We're going to be talking that there's a lot of political messaging in these artworks. Anybody have any thoughts on this?
It's interesting that her arm is a calavera, just bones.
Well, because we see that a lot in Mexican art, Nikki. What do you to you? What does it symbolize?
Well, that started in around, I don't know, the 1920s when Jose Luis Posada, who's the one who created the Catarina, and we recognize her at Day of the Dead, right? And he was a printmaker too, like the group we're talking about, right? So he was a printmaker, and he had, a political life as well. And at that time, there were a lot of well-off Mexican families that wanted to adopt more European, more Anglo-Saxon, more white traditions. So that's why he exposed it. Everybody is bare bones underneath, right? But he wanted to expose that these well-off Mexicans were trying to imitate the rich Europeans with the big hats and the beautiful dresses and the things that the Catarina wore. And that caught on. And of course, that has gone through many generations. And it's so prevalent today when we see the Dia de los Muertos celebrations. And it's just, when I think of our guys that we're talking about today, they've continued that legacy.
Yeah,
And that's,
we're gonna see references to Posada, who you talked about, the printmaker, in a little bit when we start
yeah.
talking about these poster artists from Sacramento.
Mhm.
One more thing. I mean, there were so many things at this museum, and I just picked out like a few that really struck us. But this is a shovel that's been painted. It's enamel paint on the steel of the shovel. We'll see a symbol up here that is a symbol that's going to be recurring in the poster art we're going to be looking at, and that is, of course, the symbol of the United Farm Workers. And, I think painting on a shovel makes us think of all the enormous labor that went into building our country and done by so many immigrants, many from Mexico. Anything to add to that, Nikki, or anyone else?
No.
Um,
And I see we have a
Rodney,
discussion.
can I just ask a question?
Sure,
Um,
please do.
so, UFW was always aligned with Cesar Chavez in my mind and in the art presentations that I do. And we were just having a debate as to do we mention him, do we not? If we don't mention him, what do we say instead?
Yeah,
You know,
it's a great question, Marcia, and Nikki and I talked about that. We're just in this exhibition that we're going to be talking about in Sacramento was planned and put up right before the revelations came out that
uh,
or the allegations against Cesar Chavez that he sexually abused women, including Dolores Huerta. And I think what we want to do today is really just focus on the art. So I wanted to not delve too much into that because it's a difficult subject. And I think it's important to understand that the United Farm Workers and the Chicano movements that these things reflect. He was like the face of a lot of those movements, but it was a lot more than just him. But Marcia, what do you think of that response?
well, I love that when you first started talking about it, you didn't mention his name. I went, whoa, Rodney's there. And yes, the idea is that there's many other people involved and a lot of Filipinos who were their foot soldiers of this UFW. So it's who's the face and who did the work. So I'm with you totally.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good way of looking at it, I think. So we are going to now jump into this discussion about the poster exhibition at the Crocker Art Museum. It's called Rebels with La Cosa.
But how,
La
And
Causa. La Causa.
House, and please correct me. Like I said, I readily admit to being an outsider to all this. And this is an exhibition that I highly recommend you see. You only have a few more weeks. So if you can get up to Sacramento, do it. The Crocker Art Museum is a great museum. This is a good view of it because there's kind of a modern wing and there's also a more traditional part of the museum. I love the way they've done that. It's one of my favorite museums. And it is located in downtown Sacramento, not terribly far from the Capitol. Also, very close to the train station. You could take the train up to Sacramento and easily get from the train station on foot, or you can get there pretty easily
is it
without
wheelchair
having to get a car.
accessible?
Is it? Yeah, absolutely. It is. I mean, that's the great thing about the Americans with Disabilities Act is you can definitely go by wheelchair from the train station to the art museum, and then in the art museum you would be just fine getting around. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
That's kind of what I was trying to say. So thanks for having me clarify that. Um, so we're going to be talking about, it's called the Royal Chicano Air Force, this group of poster artists. And it was two Sacramento State professors who started it in 1969. One is Jose Montoyo and the other is Esteban Villa. I love this picture of Esteban with a picture of himself as a younger man. And they actually initially called it the Rebel Chicano Art Front. And it had those initials RCAF. And people kept asking them, well, aren't you guys, it sounds like you guys are the Royal Canadian Air Force. And they're like, well, actually, we're the Royal Chicano Air Force. And they kind of embraced that name. And then there's lots of like people wearing pilot outfits and things like that in these posters. So there's like kind of this radical humor in a lot of the art that we're going to be looking at. And embracing that name kind of lend itself to that. Anything to add to that, Nikki? What we,
Um, you know what struck me as interesting was that in the farmland where the farm workers were working and organizing, they had an artist collective too. They had the farmer. Oh my gosh, my the name is slipping me, but the famous artists, musicians, people who wrote plays that went from town to town as part of the farm worker movement. So they're really connected. They were so connected to the farm worker movement because these kids, these young people at that time were mostly from Sacramento, from all those small farm towns. So they had that farm worker experience. That's why they were so connected and felt so much for doing this work on behalf of the UFW.
yeah, we will see in these posters, you will see a lot of UFW flags. So this is definitely not just something in passing. This is something that's a pretty strong motif in these works. I like Dina. Thank you for that comment. I did not realize that the Crocker Art Museum is the oldest museum in the Western United States. I guess it kind of makes sense that the gold rush is going on near that. And yeah, this is a great show for that museum. So we're going to see this picture is going to get used in one of the posters, but this is uh, I think it's some other the two artists Villa and Montoya and some others in a Jeep, and this was in Fairfield protest against the grape growers. There's a parade, and so this is them kind of embracing that Royal Chicano Air Force label. So let's start talking about some of these posters. This is so I mentioned Villa and Montoya being the founders. This is a poster by Villa. He did a lot of posters. Montoya didn't do, at least in the exhibition, he doesn't have quite as many. But this is a great one because it's really embracing that image of the royal, the pilots kind of flying high. And this one is an event, a Cinco de Mayo event in 1973. So the posters start being produced in like 1970, and this group would stay together for about 20 years after that.
There was such a strong presence of students, starting at Sac State. This event is at UC Barbara, and we'll see on other posters that they were really engaging the university students.
Yeah, this one mentions this student movement in Mexico. It's really it's bringing together people that are farm workers with students, with artists, in creating this reflection of the community that I think is really important. I mean, at this point, a lot of people don't have much money. It's a community that is struggling to be respected, and creating this art is a way of kind of bringing celebrating the community, and also getting positive attention from outside.
And to bring more about the student population, I think it was in 1968 or 69. Thomas, see if they can speak to this. We have the student strike called the Third World Strike at San Francisco State, which brought in the College of Ethnic Studies that no other university in the country has a College of Ethnic Studies, and it brought ethnic studies classes to all types of universities. And it's from that came the EOPS program, which gave students a lot of support to enter college. So now we see, kids that were farm worker kids having, a second choice of maybe opting for college. And there was a rise in students of color at that time that really took seriously the conditions in their homes, their hometowns, whether it was pay, housing, health conditions that applied, what they learned in college to put it to use in the community, and that's
Yeah,
shown in these posters.
I think we can be really proud that that movement started, here in the Bay Area, at San Francisco State. It spread to UC Berkeley. It was very influential at Sac State and all over the state. And I think one of the things the students confronted was even if you were a student in these schools, your culture wasn't being respected. And the art that we're looking at wasn't seen as like art. It was seen as something external to the art of, the Western culture that was dominating. Let's move on to
Wait,
another one.
Rodney, can we go back just for a minute to that first RAF picture you showed?
Sure, this one.
Because I thought it was all women in front. The pencil drawing of the Air Force, it looked like Royal Canadian Air Force. Back one more.
Oh, Becky. Oh, yeah, that is women. I think you're right.
But so it's even women in what appears to be a military costume on the right. Yeah? With the
Yeah,
RC.
I don't know the explanation for that.
Okay.
I
Maybe just playing up the military theme.
Yeah, yeah. I guess maybe that makes it a more arresting image. Like you're like, oh wow, those are women. So that
Yeah.
the movement encompasses both men and women. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure what the story is with that.
Yeah. It's just, I like that it was women. Thank you.
And we do have it's like this is like so many. This is a movement that was probably dominated by the male artists, but we do have there were a number of women artists in the collective, and we'll see some of their works in
Thank
this.
you.
Well, in their great work. So I didn't. I did it because I found them. I just went. This is a subset of the posters in the show. I think there's well over 100, but I picked out some of my favorites. This is another Esteban Villa work, and I believe he was influenced by art coming from places like Cuba to come up with something like this. And then we do see this is our first United Farm Workers image that we'll see, but we're going to see a lot more. What is it about? Like, what are some thoughts you have about like what he's doing with this poster art? I mean, I really like the lettering. I think it's really interesting. It's kind of like this little dot matrix kind of thing going on. He's got the RCAF without really explaining what it is.
Mhm.
And this is the Cannery Workers Committee. So this is like solidarity for workers. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it was an event.
What was this that really big strike in Watsonville of the women cannery workers? It was just women that worked in those in the canning part of the industry.
Well, you see her
Um,
with her, traditional hairdo, maybe in jewelry, but then you see her in the regular worker clothes. The two hands coming in from the right side, are they fists to fight or are they equal signs? I don't know. Someone taking something away? What is that?
yeah, I mean, I would think they might be fists that might be showing like strength and resolve. It's a good
Or
question.
is
Okay.
or is it a tool? It almost looks like a tool. So I'm not
I
sure.
kind of read them as well, I read them as hands, but then you've got like a hand over here too.
Right. So that's her hand picking or preparing the fruit and boxing it. But this other thing, I wonder what it is. Maybe a big machinery that takes the fruit? I don't know.
It's a very interesting poster because it makes you think of like the Haight Ashbury posters where it's not so easy to read. You have to really spend some time with it, and then you'll see, Comité Trabajadores de Canarias. Sorry, and I apologize for my bad pronunciation. You'll read that, you'll see some dates, you'll see it says Sacramento, California, but you really have to spend time with it to understand what it's saying. And I think when you talk about like what happened in San Francisco with the hippies, they loved the fact that they had their own language. And maybe this is accomplishing the same thing for this community.
San Francisco State had an exhibit on that cannery strike.
Yeah.
So perhaps I could do some research and find out a little bit more about the background of this poster.
And then here's another Via poster, very different, although it's got another hand, it's got another UFW symbol. And this is a festival with some pretty great musicians in it. I see like Taj Mahal. who I believe is still performing. I had someone recently tell me they saw Taj Mahal, Tower of Power, and $2.50 to see these fabulous bands in free parking. Boy, that was a long time ago. Any comment on the colors that are being used here?
Kind of subdued, huh? Considering how colorful all the other posters are, these are much more subdued.
But red, green, and gold is, African
It is kind of African, isn't it?
reggae.
Well, maybe because it's Taj Mahal and some other art, blues performers. I believe this image of the person with the flag is one we're going to see more of, and um, so that's like a really great UFW image, and it's got a simplicity to it that I think is really attractive. Right, and then we're going to talk about Montoya, and this is actually the image that was used for the exhibition. It's on the catalog, part of this. Jose Montoya's Pachuco Art, a historical update. Nikki, do you know about Pachuco culture?
A little bit. That's probably all before all of our times,
Yeah, I
really.
understand it's from
You know?
a long time ago, and I read a little
Yeah,
bit about it. So I
yeah.
can say what I know, but what do you know about it?
Oh, in the 1940s, the young Latinos, just like most young people, have their own style, and they had their unique style of the long jackets and the full pants and the women with, the dresses and the big bouffant hair. That was the style. And they were attacked for that. They were criminalized for having their own style. And the famous story of the riots there is that the kids were having a party, celebrating whatever, and these drunken army guys attacked them, came after them, and it turned into a major brawl, big news, and there was hatred towards the Mexicans there in LA, and this just fueled the fire. That's the basics I know of it. I don't know what other people can contribute.
Yeah, I mean, I read about that and about this persecution from an earlier period, but this group is looking back to what happened in the 40s and saying, hey, we remember that and we have pride and we think what they were doing was perfectly fine. They shouldn't have been persecuted. And I believe this was art that was kind of celebrating those people in that time. And it says La Verdad. I believe that's the truth, right?
Can I ask you questions? One, I
Sure.
mean, the word zoot suit came to mind, but that's a
Yeah.
different culture, right?
No, I believe zoot suits were part of this. So I think you're spot on with that.
All right. And then up in the corner near his hat, it says El Ralph. Is this Ralph? Who?
There was a Ralph. Does anybody know more about this than I do? I know there was a someone like that's significant to that. Go ahead,
Homicidas.
Thomasita. Unmute. Thomasita. There you go.
This Jose Montoya's Pachuco, he's saying that this is El Ralph is Ralph Maradiaga, who's another one of the one of the main guys. And so it's like this is Jose Montoya's portrait of El Ralph Maradiaga.
Maraniaga.
So this is Maradiaga. There's these guys that are mentioned here, and then there's Jose Montoya and Ralph Maradiaga, his homeboy. So
Uh-huh.
this is El Ralph. El Ralph. El Ralph is this guy. The guy Jose Montoya is portraying El Ralph Maradiaga. This is Jose Montoya's painting of Ralph Maradiaga. El Ralph.
And he's one of
Ralph
the
is El
main
Ralph.
figures.
Just
Okay.
Yeah.
like Rodolfo Cuellar is Rudy Cuellar, and Louis Gonzalez is the foot. There's Jose Montoya, and then there's El Ralph, and that's Ralph Maradiaga.
Who's a historical figure from that
He's
period?
one of the guy. He's one of the other artists.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He'll probably come up in this. He's
Um,
one of the main guys.
okay, I'm not so sure he will, but let's keep
Okay.
going. So I have some posters that Montoya did on his own, and he did this one about Dennis Banks and stopping his extradition. So he did a lot of political things, and he was a poet in addition to being a painter. And then here's another Montoya for a dance. I really like this one. It shows like the style of the culture. And just like we're going to see some more dancers later on in these posters. Any thoughts on this?
Well, that's what was so interesting about the RCA. People think it's a group of artists, but they encompassed all type of art, not just visual art and posters, but theater, dancing, poetry, playwriting. They encompassed as many types of art as they possibly could. And so, since you reminded me the name of the museum I was thinking of, which was the Teatro Campesino, which was the theater of the campesinos that the UFW organized. And if you want to visit a beautiful museum going the other direction, south, they have a wonderful museum in San Juan Bautista, close to the mission. And I got to tour that museum privately by accident. We went there to purchase something and they were closed, but the one guy in the museum let us come in while he looked for the item and he just let us walk through. It was fascinating. Talk about, a step back in time with beautiful artwork and posters and articles and photographs. So it's called the Teatro Campesino. They still have performances there, and it's located about half an hour south of San Jose.
Wow, that's good to know about. Thanks for that,
Mm.
Nikki.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you for the feedback.
and then this one, it's songs and dances of the 40s, and that is that period of that Pachuco, the zoot suits and all that. So just shows you like
Mhm.
people really knew how to dress up back then.
Mm.
So then we'll move on to another artist, Richard Favela, who's very well represented in the exhibition. We'll see a lot of his works. This is one from 1975. In the Centro de Artistas Chicanos was a center for these art, the RCAF did a lot of their artwork there. It was a place for them. You could make posters and other artworks there.
What fell off the canvas? Is that an eye? I'm
It
actually
does kind of
tears.
look like an eye. I think there's like something ripped the canvas or something, and there's tears coming off of it.
And then one tear coming up on near closer to the eye.
Oh yeah, that's right. It bounces off the eye. There's a certain surreal quality to some of these images, and
Oh,
it's
yeah. Oh, I wanted to say something about that, Rodney, that I don't recall too much of what was happening in Sacramento at the time. And I'm a little bit younger than most people that were exposed to this at the time. But in San Francisco, we had our own thing going on that was really, really powerful. I mean, all over the country, there were movements going on. There was the women's movement, the anti-war movement, and the Black Panthers. There was so much going on. And the Chicano movement wasn't just taking place in Sacramento and San Francisco. I mean, it went from Texas through New Mexico, Arizona, SoCal, and San Francisco, the Bay Area, and Sacramento. And in San Francisco, what sprung up in those years around the early 70s was the Galleria de la Raza, the Mission Cultural Center, Procida Eyes, El Tecolote, and I'm sure people in the audience are familiar. Those are the groups that we're familiar with locally, but we all kind of bounced off each other with the same message that we need to have our voices heard. We used to be called the sleepy giant, right? The quiet
Mhm.
giant of Latino voters. And then things sprung up like the Frank told me the name, the Latino Unidos Party in Texas and South Texas, where people were just sick of it all, of bad schools and bad health care, that they organized there and they did a pretty good job. And then in New Mexico, Reyes Tijerina was fighting to get the land grants back that were not upheld under the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And I learned a lot of this stuff from my mom. So I was like about maybe 9, my brother was about 6, and my mother was always watching the news. And she tells, quiet, quiet, Mario Savio's speaking. Or they're saying something about Cuba, because that was my mother's place of birth. And she had us tuned in as much as we could as kids. But we were exposed to these things through my mom. And we lived right near San Francisco State, and we could actually see the police lining up on near our street as I went down into the campus. I mean, it was an exciting time. I wish I had been a little bit older to have appreciated it more. But San Francisco really had it going on at that time as well. I just had to say that because I'm a native San Franciscan.
Yeah, it's an exciting movement. One of the things that I learned, reading about this exhibition was, we think of the Latino culture, but this is really Chicano culture. And there were people who say we really want people to understand this is about Mexico, and we're not all one group. We have our own distinct art traditions and things that are important to us. So that really resonated with me.
And yet,
Um,
when you look at this, if you don't mind my saying, the two figures are wearing the same shirt,
yeah,
presumably. And yet one has shoes, one doesn't. And one is showing his artwork, and the other is doing this gesture with the arm raised, like to me would say, "Oh, get this out of my face." But that can't be what the figure on the right is trying to say,
well,
though, is it?
maybe they are. Maybe they are arguing about whether it's good or it's well it's done. It seems like there's some kind of conflict going on between them, right?
Yeah. But and the one who's in more poverty has used art. Maybe does the RCAF want to move beyond art? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's funny that the one who's gesturing is the RCAF person. The other one is it doesn't say RCAF, and he doesn't have shoes, and he's got a patch on his pants.
And he's got bars on his sleeve. Is he proper military? I just don't know.
Yeah, the whole military thing it's just such a fun thing that they appropriated that because that was my first reaction hearing about this exhibition was what Royal Chicano Air Force? What's that? Let's move on. So this is a picture of Ricardo Favello, that's up in the exhibition. He sadly died at a pretty young age in 2007, but here he is working. And the exhibition includes a room where you can really see the printmaking supplies for this silk screening technique that they used. So you learn a lot about poster making from it. Favela, this is one of the most famous posters, and it's what they're using to promote the exhibition. And it's for supporting the UFW boycott and strike in the mid 70s. And it takes that photograph that we saw earlier, and he kind of colorizes it and turns it into this image. Well, why do you think he did that? Anybody? Why add all these colors to the black and white photograph that was used? You can see it says boycott Gallo wines, boycott sun-made raisins.
Mm.
I think we had a question about the Royal Chicano Air Force that I think got answered. They were the Rebel Chicano art front. They had those initials, and then people found the connection to the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Do, does huelga mean strike?
It does mean strike.
Okay. And so the color is to draw your eye. Funny that the most important messages are the teeny tiny words on the bottom.
Yeah, it is funny, right? That like this, your eye is drawn to the Jeep, and then you have to really look a little more closely to see what they're calling on you to do.
So it's a branding exercise more than art. I
I
don't know.
guess so. Yeah, I think they just loved that image, and they go back to it again and again and again. of them in the military garb and stuff. Because it is, I mean, we're fighting. They're an army of sorts. They're an army without arms.
Just
1976, that's well past the boycotting of raisins and maybe not the wine. Hmm.
Let's move on to this one. So another favela image. This is a Dia de los Muertos from 1975. Uh, it says boycott Coca-Cola, boycott Gallo.
we haven't seen any boycott cores yet.
No, is that coming?
It's around the same era, but that wasn't about the UFW though. That was around something else. Yeah.
And I love the fact that he frames the poster with bones. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's the purpose of the target on his back. What do you think that's saying? Oh, and I missed. Gail made a great comment about the last poster that is very Andy Warhol. I think that is. It's like this. There's like a pop art influence on all this.
Mhm.
The colors make it
Good
pop. So
call.
Safeway gets a nice call out.
And somebody thought that there were women in that photograph, but with I don't know, with the color, they clearly look like guys
Oh, I
now.
think I think we weren't. That's not the same picture. You're talking about. It was a different picture where we were talking
Oh,
about women.
okay. Sorry.
It's pretty clear those are men.
What does it say in the very bottom? Para la gloria de la Raza, maybe? I don't.
De la Raz, what? And that's
So
the
it's just
race,
celebrating the
right?
cause. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A la raza.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And yet another favela. So that again, the UFW colors. But these are colors that are really making us think about the Mexican flag at this point. Would you all agree with that?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going with reggae with the
Right.
hair and the red, green, and gold.
Kind of subtle. Yeah.
Or maybe it's morphing like Mexican colors, but also morphing into some gold, maybe representing California.
Mm, maybe. I don't know.
And it says at CSUS Student Art Gallery. What Cal State?
Yeah,
What?
Sacramento State. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
They were centered in Sacramento. In fact, there's a beautiful park there that I want to go visit. Um, and they have these about I think seven different pillars. And this was done in 1976. And the more prominent members of RCSF were selected to paint. Each one got a pillar to paint, and it still stands there. It's a famous park, and they have concerts there and community festivals, and it's still a great gathering place for people to enjoy. And one of the center pillar had something they considered controversial at the time, which was the butterfly, the mariposa, right? And it's funny because I didn't realize that symbol went back that far because we see it all the time now with the immigrant rights groups and organizations that they use the mariposa as their symbol of freedom and change, but it was used even back then.
I really like Hector's comment about how it would be great if more artists put the year for the events on their posters. I'm a Haight-Ashbury tour guide, and there's so many great posters from the hippie era. And then you kind of like, they'll give you the dates and they'll tell you what day of the week it was, and then you have to do some. You're basically trying to figure out if it's like 66, 67, 68, 69. But that is something that would make things a lot easier.
did you
Um,
did you see that this one does say 74? Oh, I
It
didn't
does, it
catch it
does
at
say
first.
that. Yeah, I did see that. So good on you, Senor Favela. And another one. So we had that one earlier by Montoya for Dennis Banks, and this is another one about the Native Americans and the struggle. They're linking their struggle to Chicano struggle. And this one's pretty pointed.
Yeah, a lot of imagery on that. You couldn't get more imagery on just the portrait of the Native American.
Yeah, is this still the United Farm Workers logo, or is it really morphed into something else?
It's a dream catcher, isn't it?
Is it a dream catcher? It's like a go back to like that one, and these are not really the same, I guess. Yeah. All right. We'll move on to Rudolfo Cuellar, who he collaborated with Montoya on one of the earlier posters. I kind of like this one, like celebrating lowrider culture. It's really cool that the car is almost coming out of the poster.
Hmm.
And again, more very surreal imagery.
You know what year that was, or close to what year?
Well, it came out in 1978, so
Oh, so yeah.
yeah, that's the good thing about I have the catalog, and the catalog has all that information.
It's funny how low riding is now so
Accept,
popular with the mainstream culture, so
it's accepted
accepted,
now. It,
and before it was like looked down upon, and it should not have been that way. It's always been a wonderful way of expressing yourself, the artwork, the craftsmanship that went into it, the expense, the way people had to save money to get buy different parts and apply them to their vehicle, and it's just been such a beautiful thing for generations, and now finally it's getting its coming into the light on the other side, and we even have the lowrider stamps now.
yeah, when is there's a festival in the Mission. I mean, I just happened to be in the Mission. I think it was last year, and there was just like
Well,
all the streets just full of these lowrider
oh,
vehicles.
they had a big one about 2 months ago. They even televised it.
Yeah,
Even televised. And then they were part of Carnival, of course, and they'll be out September 16th for the Fiesta de las Americas on 24th Street
I think that's
in
probably what
September.
it was
Yeah,
that I encountered.
it's so fun.
Here, this one I really love this one. You want to talk about surreal? Los Mascarones, the masks, and what a great image. So I think it's hard to pick favorites in this show because there's so many that I really like, but I do like Cuellar's work quite a bit. And there it is, the UFW logo again in the background.
Oh, yeah. I didn't
Uh,
notice that.
Gail asked a question in chat about what is the legacy of the UFW? Does anybody, maybe Nikki, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's not really. I just think it's in a flux right now because of what happened with the accusations against Cesar Chavez, and I think people
But but
are
even putting that aside, I mean, what they accomplished in terms of getting better living standards for people, and also uniting Chicanos and kind of installing Chicano pride, right?
Well, it was also, their lives were at threat. When they were farm workers without a union,
Yeah,
they did not get good medical care, health insurance, and they were working in pretty brutal conditions. So this was literally about trying to save the lives of the fruit pickers. Um,
yeah,
And sometimes, but I still get in trouble because we still hear news reports about, somebody dying of thirst in the fields, and what happened in Half Moon Bay when that guy, there was a shooting in Half Moon Bay at the farm worker site, and it exposed how bad the housing was for those farm workers.
yes.
And what has happened, though, is that many of the groups have sprung up to advocate for the farm workers. There's ALAS in Half Moon Bay. There's the CRLA, and the CRLA also has a foundation, which is the oh gosh, what does it stand for? CRLA. Who knows? California Legal Rural Association, I believe, and they're big. They're big on policy and helping the farm workers live a better life and have a better standard of living and working conditions. So what's good about the UFW is that they set the model. they created a model, and there's other organizations that are doing similar work.
Yeah, we are kind of getting towards the end of the show, so want to fit in a few more posters. Here's one that does definitely evoke the Mexican flag, uh, and it's got the UFW flag too, and it's what is Tenny 6 de Septembre? What is that? Is it 16th of September? Or I wasn't entirely clear on what
That says
it's.
the 10th, but it should
Or
be
is
the
it 10?
6th.
Is it 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
10 and 6 is 16th, the 16th of September.
I don't get it because this is
Okay.
11th of September. So
Mhm.
forgive us for not entirely, again, I'm outside of the culture, and some of these images I found really, really fascinating, but I didn't entirely understand. I do want to mention though, look at that, Los Lobos
Oh yeah.
playing at this, and this is 19. Wouldn't you have loved to have seen Los Lobos in
I-
1977?
and that's at that Southside Park, the
Yeah,
one
it's
where
probably
the
free. It was probably free to see Los Lobos. I mean,
uh,
come on. That's
Rodney, can you hold up the picture of Dolores? Because I have the T-shirt that
oh,
matches it.
let me just let me
One where
skip to
she
that.
goes, so the one guy on it,
Don't I have her
it's
in, I
right
have her
towards
in
the
here
end.
somewhere. There she is.
There it is. Okay, so that's a famous image. We've all seen that picture of Dolores, and I recognized it right away because I just bought a T-shirt, and this was gifted to me. I don't know if you can see it or not. Can you see it? It's the
I
same image that the Dolores Huerta Foundation has used
yeah,
to promote
You
Geo
they
TV.
they found these some of these photographs like the one of the RCAF in the Jeep just lend itself to being reused many, many times. And this one, of course, is and
Yeah,
there's also the guy. I think let me see if we can go back to it. There's the guy with the flag. See if I have that. So sadly, we're not going to get to all these posters. I apologize. This one, this is something that gets used again and again. Somebody with a UFW flag and a megaphone.
yeah.
And then let's just finish with these. There's two posters that are reference Jose Posada that you mentioned, Nikki, and he was a Mexican printmaker. And this is a exhibition that was showing his work in Sacramento. And so these guys, of course, loved him. And these images come from Posada actual prints that he had made.
He was said to always work in front of a window so that the people could see him creating his protest art, certainly during the revolution. And he apparently was a major influence on Rivera and the three greats, Siqueiros and
Fresco.
Rivera
Yeah.
and, oh, I'm forgetting the last name. Sorry, whoever remembers the three
So
great mural
Diego
artists.
Orozco and Siqueiros.
Orozco, thank you.
Um,
Wow.
so we've got that one, and then here's another one. Although I'll have to be honest, I don't know what what is that? Taller DF?
Yeah. Shop of I don't know. I can't read the
It's a
whole word.
shop.
Workshop.
It's a workshop. Oh, that's his workshop.
So you're this workshop.
That was Hector, our nationally recognized interpreter. Thank you, Hector.
And you're
Thank you so
joining us
much.
from Detroit. Thank,
I am. Hello, everyone.
it's
And
great.
Hector, thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
Thank you
Wow.
for
Of
having me.
course, this was really fun.
Yeah, and I want to say to the group that Nikki worked really hard to make this program come together. So thanks for, Nikki made a lot of phone calls, and we kind of put this together ourselves. I'm just going to say one more time that I'm external to all this. I didn't grow up in this culture. I loved being exposed to this art and learning about it. So Nikki, thank you very much for doing
Oh,
that.
thank you. Thanks for bringing it to this great audience. And you did great, Rodney. Thank you. And I think, we all learn a little bit more every time we see these representations and talk about it. And I found it really enjoyable doing some more research on it. And I really want to thank some really special friends who came out to support this, Tomasita and Joe Torres and Sybil and Hector, all the way from Detroit. And Frank Martin Del Campo was here, and Catherine Johnson was here from SF State. So a lot of really special people. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. A big takeaway for me on all this, after going to the National Museum of Mexican Art in Chicago and seeing this exhibition, is we just have to do better in the Bay Area. We need to have a great Mexican art museum in San Francisco. So
Yeah, I
hopefully
agree.
that will happen. I would
Right.
certainly be supportive of it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Nikki, anything you want to say about what's coming up from Community Living Campaign?
No, I can't think of anything right now.
All right. Well,
I'm just like,
there's
we're
more
taking it
coming.
easy.
I know. I don't know if we're doing the music thing tonight because I think Richie Unterberger's traveling.
Oh,
But but
mm,
we'll be back in 2 weeks. Got another great art viewing adventures coming to you in 2 weeks. I think,
okay.
in the meantime, everyone be well and get out there and expose yourself to great art.
I think Richie changed nights while he's on vacation,
He did.
and there's an art class coming up next at 2 o'clock. I think that's still on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Thanks
right,
so much.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
Until
you.
you.
next time.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Marcia, thanks,
Thank,
Nikki.
and thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, as
Um,
always, thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah,
okay, see you
Thanks,
guys.
thanks,
very
Gail.
good.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.